All right, everybody, welcome back to Spiritually Incorrect Podcast, Episode 2. Co-host Chris, is that how you say my name? With my man Jesse.
I'm Chris and he's Jesse.
Yeah, we'll go opposite today because we don't edit this out. It's pure mistakes and everything.
Just like Walter White Smith.
Perfect. Well, I wanted to start Episode 2 with what brought you into filmmaking. Because this guy already has one movie out. Can I say the movie name?
Yeah.
It's on Spirit. You can see it on YouTube. Great movie. He also has another film coming out, which he's been making me wait forever, it feels like. But I'm excited to see it. So want to see what brought you into filmmaking.
Filmmaking has been, I think, Sorry, I was really distracted by Captain.
Sorry,
I'll edit that out if I need to. Yeah, filmmaking, I think it's been something that has been synonymous with my spiritual journey in life. And I think that for some people, they enter into it in a way of they want to make these real cool shots. And of course, I want to make real cool shots and they want to do all these things with it. But to me, I looked at it, whenever I was making something, it didn't ever feel like I was making a film. It felt like I was in high school, I was in college trying to write an essay almost and trying to come up with a story for how I came to, do whatever, how I came to come to my spiritual beliefs, how I came to, my religion and Christianity and all that. But yeah, I think where it really starts from is in college. Like if we're talking about like the pure technical part of it in college, I really started to learn about some ideas that I wanted to put into films, and in order to do that, I felt like I just have to make it happen, and I just have to learn all these things. And I had some like cursory knowledge of editing and like a little bit of knowledge of cameras, but overall it was something that I had to learn as a trial by fire. And so the first thing I ever did was there was this professor at my school who was selling a book, and I put a little website out that I do videos. And so they decided to call me up, the publisher and that professor, they called me up, and I said I would do it for, just like a little bit of money. But at that point, that was the first time where I was like, oh, this is something that I can actually make into some sort of career, because I didn't really believe it at that point. There was no real set reason to do so. But I did that, and then I started doing other freelance jobs here and there, along with my other studies, and then also playing baseball in college. But I think that's really what led me to Play Crate right after college, where I was able to do videos for them, and I was able to take all these things that I was learning and able to edit a lot. And at that time too, when I started to do that, I really wanted to tell a story, and one that wasn't purely like a documentary. And so I wrote my first script, and that to me was a milestone. And I think it really challenged me in a way of trying to put into, poetic fashion, like truth that I feel that I've learned over the course of my life. And I think that's the part that I really got addicted to, was the feeling of trying to construct meaning out of things that can sometimes feel random. And then, that's what led me to the feature film that I've been working on for a couple of years now, and finally am at the finishing stages of. It's there's a complete edit of it, and I'm starting to show it off to different distributors and things like that. And yeah, I think it's felt like that's been my spiritual journey. That's been my odyssey. And, I definitely, like I was just telling him, I've been putting all my camera stuff in the basement not because I hate filmmaking now, but because I feel like I've gotten to the end of the road that I set for myself, and I just need a little break before that next adventure starts. And I'm sure that'll involve filmmaking in some respect. But yeah, that's kind of like the overall view of how it all came together.
I like that. I like how you're taking a break, not because you don't like it, but because it's just, consumes you for a while. So even with working out, I used to do powerlifting programs all the time. at some points, like, I don't find the gym fun anymore. Like, I just want to go and work out and not have to worry about doing math and lifting this or doing this exercise. So it's like, it's really nice to be able to be like, all right, cool. Like, I accomplished this goal. I'm just going to take a break, regroup, and then go right back to it. Because I feel like if you didn't take a break, and maybe at some point you might start to, like, resent filmmaking. Because it feels like you make films because it's a passion, because you want to, because you want to, like, tell a personal story, like, in a different way through film. But if you keep forcing yourself to do it, where's the passion go? Because it's force.
Exactly. I want to make something that I feel compelled to tell the story.
Yeah.
Not, like, I think, and some people are totally different. They love every single technical aspect of it. I feel like I'm doing it because that's what's necessary to tell the story. And the change for me this year is that I want to be able to, I think just come up with that new story. And so that's what I'm doing right now. I'm trying to come up with a few new concepts, and I'm trying to find what's that next thing that'll drive me to do something, like spend a couple of years on it. And I don't think it'll look the exact same way that it did this time, especially because I've made more connections and built more of a network, and it should make things a little bit more of a team effort this time than it was before. But yeah, I think that's what this year is going to look like, and I'm not sure what the next 5 years look like. I joked like, oh, maybe I'll be a farmer this year or something. But that's not going to happen. But overall, I felt like I think it's when I try to look at life like a story too, and at the end of every story, there's a return home. There's a return from the adventure.
Yeah.
And that's a necessary part of the story. It's you're not going all the time, and then the next story happens when there's that call to action, call to adventure, and I'm sure that'll come. But at least for right now, I'm back to that home base, back to the ordinary world, ready for the next one.
So do you think, like, where did you find, like, inspiration for the first two films? Was it like, did you figure it out at the same time, like in the same place? Like maybe you go like into the woods or something, that's when you get it? Or is it just kind of like one day it kind of clicks and like, all right, cool, I'm going to make a film based off, this topic, and I'm going to figure it out as I write it?
I think it really came, at least the first time, from me trying to figure out life, as vague as that seems.
That makes sense.
Like, that's literally what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to place all of the events, and like, they're fictional stories, and so the events aren't one-to-one, but the things that have happened to me in life, I'm trying to figure out, like, how do I make sense of this? And for me, that was something that was motivating. And so one specific event, I'm not entirely sure of that, but I will tell you this, that as I was producing that short film, Spirit, I was really unsure, like, exactly how this is going to turn out, because I really wanted to make something that felt like it really challenged me. And so we shot it out in White Sands in New Mexico, and for me, like, whenever I talk about the West Coast, it because I've been in the East Coast my entire life, it feels like something that is like almost like supernatural, like especially the landscapes that are out there. And so for me, I'm like, and that was an example of me wanting to put my faith out there and wanting to just see, okay, I'm going to step out onto these wild sands, and I'm going to point a camera, gather some actors, and we're going to see what the heck happens, and like I got a lot of appreciation for what I learned during that film, but I think also I knew that there was a lot to learn too. And so for this next one that I've been working on, I was just like, how do I take that principle and extend it into an entire feature film? And so I took a lot of learnings from people that I met in California, people that I met from all over, and tried to really meet that extra level, extra standard, and went back out west again. We went to the Bonneville Salt Flats in Utah, and we did some motorcycle driving there. So, and I think it's like, that's part of like I wanted to feel the adventure, the adrenaline too, and I think that like filmmaking really gives me that opportunity to, like find spiritual meaning in life, and to like use my faith to do some cool things, and I really have to give it to God too about what has happened with it, because there's plenty of times where we were shooting out in the wilderness, and there was a big chance that like we weren't going to be able to drive the motorcycle on it because it rained a few days before, and like you can get fined a lot if you mess up the ground. But God could have made it happen a totally different way, but I was like, just trying to have faith here, and it we were able to shoot it, and we were able to shoot the short film Spirit, and I think there's just been a lot of opportunities where I haven't known what's going to happen, and then something happens with it. So
I think it's part of it, right? Like not knowing what the next thing is, right? Because I feel like a lot of times we don't do something because we're like, oh, something bad could happen, or I don't know this, or I don't have this figured out, or like we know we have to do something, but because we don't know the outcome, we'll spend all day cleaning our house to feel productive, or something ridiculous, right? Like, cool, you cleaned your house, but also you just cleaned your house to run from yourself. So I think even if it rained bad or they kicked you out of a certain location, like it would have been something for you to learn, and that lesson you probably would have just attached to that film in the next one anyway. So I think it always works out.
Right. And I think that the big thing I learned, and, regardless of how much faith I had over those things, I was still super anxious about, is this going to work out? Because I'm putting a lot of money down on it, and because I'm trying to organize all these people. But I think it's not being so necessarily like outcome oriented about what happens. Like it's about, okay, I'm trusting that this is the way that this is going to go. But if it doesn't go that way, then that's what was meant to be. And I think that's I think a tough thing to balance, because like in one respect it's like if you're having faith about something, you're kind of wanting that thing to happen in that specific way. But I think what faith is really about is that surrender with like, I'm going to do the work it takes so that this makes sense for it to work out. But then that surrender part of it says, like, maybe it's not going to go the exact way that I think too.
I like that, because you are right. You would, regardless of what happened, you'd figure it out, and you have faith that you can figure it out. And I think that's the big thing, is like you said, not focusing on the outcome, focusing on the journey, right? So I think we always have like that thing we want, right? You want to have kids, or you want to get married, or find this partner, or get this job. But until we get that, we're not satisfied. Because once we get it, there's just going to be something else we're not satisfied with, right? So it's just enjoying that journey and being okay with however it happens. Like, set yourself a goal that's high enough where if you fall short of it, you still accomplish something good. Like, have a high bar for yourself, but enjoy the path from day one till now.
Exactly.
I was thinking about, I'm going to bring in ChatGPT. I'm going to reel in last week's episode. I was asking it, when I was in my 20s, dude, I was like, I don't even know how to explain. Like, I wasn't worried about anything. Like, I was just like, lolly, lolly, da. I was just like going through life, right? But I was very excited. I was very optimistic. I was very happy. Like, my guard really wasn't up. And I'm like, I feel like I don't have much of that now. Like, I feel like some of it's gone. And I was talking to our good friend, the GPT, and I asked him, like, is that normal? And it's like, well, you can never go back to your 20s. Like, you're in your 30s now. 30s is when you start to, like, get a career. Regardless of whatever age, you have plenty of time to create anything.
Like.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You're not in your 30s yet. I feel like it's different. Like, when you're in your 30s, right, you spend a lot of your 20s figuring out what you want to do for work and your career and all those things, so you test out a lot of stuff. I tested out a lot of different jobs. Even, like, we met at Play Great, but I had a second job for, like, most of the time, right? I was just trying different side things and whatever. And some of them were good. I just was not the right person for it. Like, you can make a lot of money selling life insurance. I cannot. And that is very clear. It's not my thing. So I think going back to, like, what I was saying with GPT, it's like, yeah, like when you get to your 30s, like, it's up to me to not let certain things bog me down or get rid of the optimism or the joy. Like even this podcast, when I was editing or like uploading the Instagram and all that stuff for episode 1, I was telling my girlfriend, I was like, I don't know if I really want to upload this one. I'm going to listen to it. Maybe we'll do the second one. Just a form of procrastination. Like you go back to anyone's podcast, the first episodes are a joke. I'm like, that's the point. I was like, so what am I really fearful of? Someone listening to it, and then like I go to work, I go to the gym or somewhere, and they're like, hey, episode 1 sucked, dude. I'm like, who cares? Right? Like, cool, thanks. Give me feedback, right? So I'm like, it's just a form of like procrastination. So I think just doing it and being okay with the first few being messy, being like, we don't have a microphone. The phone is a microphone, right? So it's like it's cool that it's not perfect, and I think it's just enjoying that journey of going from day one.
How did it feel when you pressed publish?
I would say it wasn't that bad. I would say I probably might feel a different way when I start putting all the clips on Instagram, because I haven't put any clips on Instagram yet. I just uploaded it to like YouTube and Spotify, and then I just shared it to my story and marked us as collaborators on Instagram, so it shows up on our own feeds. But I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. No one's really messaged me about it, so whether they loved it or hated it, I don't know yet. So we'll find out soon. But my girlfriend liked it. She said it sounded pretty good. My sister is excited for it, so she's been listening to it. So back to what we were talking about, just enjoying the journey of it being imperfect. We'll figure it out. If the sound sounds crappy, then we'll buy a mixer and some mics and not just use my phone anymore. My phone's like 4 years old, by the way. So phones have come a long way, so the quality's still good, but we don't need a Red camera to do this and 8 Rode microphones and this $5,000 mixer. Like, it'll sound better and all that stuff. We'll get there, but just enjoying a Google Pixel on a stand.
Exactly. The little guy that could over there.
And then one day I'll keep that phone and we'll frame it as the first few episodes. But, I'm excited to see where it goes, but I want to transition into the next question. So, like, with filmmaking, how has it, like, helped you in your personal life? Like, what have you learned about yourself making those films?
I really feel like both of them, and I think especially this feature film, because a feature film gives you more of a chance. In case anybody doesn't know, the difference between a short film and a feature film is that a feature film is, it's like a normal film that you watch day in and day out, and a short film is one that's more of something to kind of audition your capabilities. But with this feature film, I had a chance to write an 100-page script, and I really tried to, despite that it's fictional, I tried to take my own experience and show this evolution of somebody who, once again, isn't exactly me, but somebody who I think starts out at a place of uncertainty, who starts out wondering, is life going to be, am I supposed to think this way? Am I supposed to think that way? Am I supposed to, appeal to this type of person or that type of person? And, I think, like, one of the reasons why I felt inspired to write it, too, is that I feel like that's, something that is on a lot of people's minds. They're trying to figure out, like, what is that kind of moral center look like in 2025, 2026? And this film, I think, is, like, despite all the craziness that happens in it, that's really what it's about. And I think, for me, somebody who has grown up, and I think I've grown up with a fantastic foundation, I wouldn't trade it for the world. I think also, the real life, modern age things are, a little bit messy, and it's not so kind of, like, set in stone, and things aren't, cookie cutter, I think, in a way that even they were 25 years ago or, 100 years ago, however long you want to go back. And, so I'm trying to take this foundation that I've got and apply it to the modern world. And I believe, even though, like, there was, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Like, I think there was a lot of times where throughout, like, that final step of the process, like, right up until then at the end of 2025, and, even now, like, I'm, sending it out to distributors and things like that, so there's changes that need to be made. But I think, like, what I was able to leave behind was the completion of this film, and at least, like, completion from my perspective of I got to the end of this story. And I think that, like, this is where, like, I got satisfaction of it, but if I were to look at it objectively, I wouldn't say, like, at the end of the day that it was completely, like, quote-unquote healthy at the same time, because I think that, like, I really kind of emotionally struggled as I got to the end of it, because I did want to have that sense of completion. I did want to have that sense of, like, I'm building this kind of morality, but, like, because it wasn't done yet, I'm like, okay, like, I haven't found my morality yet. And so that, I think that's what made it feel really high stakes. Even from the outside, it might seem like, oh, you're just kind of like putting together an edit, right?
Yeah.
But to me, it's like I'm trying to construct this like mythology almost, and I think that's what makes it fun. That's what makes it captivating. But yeah, it's like it's that balance of like trying to do something great, but also at the same time realizing when you zoom out that it's a privilege to be able to put something together like that.
I like that. Yeah. I think you can learn a lot about yourself doing this podcast or doing anything. It's how do you handle things, right? Like, how do you handle, like, hiring people? How do you handle when, the sound guy has, some personal things and it gets delayed? Like, do you handle it like a jerk? Or do you handle it like, well, that's unfortunate, but it's less unfortunate than what that person's dealing with, right? So I think it was cool to watch you kind of handle those things with grace as well, and just be, like, human about it. Like, you talk about the West Coast. My sister got married in Santa Barbara last year. Year before? 2024. And it is just a different world over there, man. I was late for one of the breakfasts, and my brother-in-law's dad was like, he's like, hey, we're going to head back to the house and get ready for the wedding, because it was a wedding day. He's like, just sit here and eat. You don't got to rush out of here. We went to, like, a diner, and I was like, yeah, don't worry about it. I was like, I was late. Don't worry about it. Like, go do your thing. He puts his hand on my shoulder, goes, there's no such thing as late here, son. And I was like, oh, I'm home, man. And I was like, that is, like, I always love being early and on time. Like, I don't like being late, but just, like, the mentality of, like, you're not late. Like, you're always on time. And I think, like anything, you can take it too far, right? If you don't put any effort into being on time, then you're probably going to get fired. You're going to piss a lot of your friends off because you never show up on time, right? So it's like, you can take it too far, but being on the East Coast, everything should have been done 5 years ago. It's go, go, go. Like, everyone's beeping on their horn in traffic. Like, you're not going anywhere, dude. It's a sea of red lights. Why are you mad? So it's just a much different... maybe not all the West Coast is like that. Obviously, Santa Barbara is a much different area, but it is very interesting, the difference of East Coast and West Coast. So when I came back, I was like, you know what? I'm going to take some of this I can never be late, time is a joke kind of mentality. Like, they had a clock on their wall that had, it looked like a clock, but all of the numbers, like, fell to the bottom. And it said, like, doesn't matter.
Huh.
Like, it was the right time. But it just, like, I was like, I love this. I'm like, I need to buy me one of these.
Yeah.
But I tried to take that same mentality when I came home. It was like, stuff needs to get done, but it'll always need to get done. So what are we racing to do? Because it's still going to be there. Some things need massive urgency, but you can only put so much urgency on so many things at the same time.
Yeah, and I think it's about prioritization too, right? Because I think that's what you're getting at there.
Yeah, exactly.
There are things that obviously matter. I mean, if something horrible were to happen, like a hurricane or tornado was overhead, we gotta go. We gotta get out of here. It's not like we'll get to that. But yeah, I think it's like there's so many things that with such like a time-bound society that feel like they need to get done yesterday. They need to get done this second. Yeah. And, I'm not going to say that, like, I didn't need to have that while I was making these movies, because I did. Like, you had to be, like I say this a lot of times. It felt like I needed to have, like, a gun to my own head to be like, you got to do this right now. And I think that's, part of what made it feel like a little bit unhealthy, but also I think I look at it in terms of I'm like, okay, I'm undergoing a little bit of pressure now so that I can have the rest of my life, so that I'm able to have this as like a completed product that I can I can use to get to whatever the next step in my career, or whatever other opportunities are going to come in the future. So to me, it's like, but also like that shouldn't be the case all the time. So to me, it's like, I think you need to kind of like compartmentalize those times when you do want to like go frickin' hard. And then those times too, where like right now, where I'm like, all right, got to take a step back too.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense too. Like even with, like what you said, like, you know, putting all that pressure on yourself, it is good for a while, but at some point, like, when do you stop like choking yourself? You know, like when does that why change, right? It's always for a reason, right? I need to accomplish this to feel like blah, 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 blah. Like that grind is good for a while, but at some point, it needs to change. Because you'll just, like, ruin everything around you, right? It's like, your films will probably have, like, less passion and soul to it, and everyone will notice. You know, so, speaking of passion and soul, what are your thoughts on ChatGPT making films? I'm not talking about, like, you know, AI helping with, like, Avatar and, like, making graphics. Like, the actual script.
Yeah, and that's something that I really think about a lot, about whether or not that would be something that would be viable for people to want to watch and want to see. For me, it comes down to, even if you could watch a performance, even if you could watch a film that was made entirely by AI, I think the whole reason that you're watching a film is to experience some humanity out of it, and it's something that came directly from somebody's point of view. And that's like what the best films are, is when you get to see somebody's point of view come across. Not no pun intended with my my film name Viewpoint, but yeah, and I think it's like, what would you rather watch? You know, would you rather watch a basketball game played by robots or by humans?
Well, there's no passion in where the robots win. Gear oil? Like, you know, it's not really, right? There's no pride. They're robots.
So to me, it's like, even if AI is able to recreate exactly how a human would emote, you know it's not a human. So
yeah.
I think there's something that feels soulless about that. And then even when it comes down to like the script writing too, like that's the part that I love the most. But I think it's like, at the end of the day, like, ChatGPT is aggregating, yes, all of the different scripts that have been written before, but it doesn't know your specific point of view. Yeah. And I think in that way, even if ChatGPT can write, you know, something that like feels like a movie that you watched 3 years ago, because that's what it's aggregating, it's not going to feel like, you know, how this particular writer felt about 2026.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Because I thought about that too, and it's like everything with AI, it's a great tool, but it's not a replacement for anything else.
Yeah, and I think that's what each new tool, as it comes forth, that's eventually what it becomes. And I think it scares people at first, and it scares people because this feels so new. But then I think that's inevitably what will happen, and there's going to be good things about it. Like, you know, I think like the next scripts that I write, there's this software called Synalytic, which will analyze your scripts and will tell you like what are the good things and bad things about it. So I'll probably use that.
Great tool.
As, you know, an analytical tool, and then I'll figure out, okay, how do I want to like rephrase things or whatever to get my specific point of view to come forth with it.
I like that. It's great tool for everything, but it can't replace like you said, humans. And there's like a soul interaction that you have, like we spoke about, like therapy. Like there's a soul that my therapist has, and he knows me so much. So it's like, although I can get some good direction,
right,
from ChatGPT.
No matter how much you tell ChatGPT, it can never replace an actual therapist. To have somebody there to...
Yeah, it's been there, done that. It's like, oh yeah, that does suck. I know what that's like. Mm-hmm. You know, like when I first started doing all that inner child healing, I started before he told me to do it. I kept hearing it, like podcasts and people online stuff, and I was like, I don't know. And then I'm driving to work, and I click on what Lewis Howes has. Literally posted like that day or the day before. Was healing his inner child. Listen to the whole thing. And as I'm getting to work, he goes, I have a picture of myself as a boy. It's the screensaver of my phone. And I look at it all the time and talk to him. I'm like, well, where am I going to find a picture of myself? Like, I don't just have pictures of myself. I kid you not. I drive down the hill back when we were on Mason Street, so you know exactly where it was. I backed in, I checked my phone. My dad sent me a text message of me as, I was probably, 11 or 12? We used to go camping together all the time. And he's like, miss going camping with my little camping buddy. Random as hell. And I'm like, that is, wow. I was like, all right, universe, just do it. Got it. Okay, like, I'm going to go all in on the inner child stuff. And then I started doing that, and I told my therapist, and he was just like, I'm telling him the story. I'm like, so I bought this book. It didn't start with you. It's kind of about like some generational trauma stuff and like childhood trauma. And he's like looking at me, kind of funny as I'm explaining. I'm like, why are you looking at me like this? Like, isn't this good? He goes, I've never once in my like 30-something year career of doing this had someone come up to me and be like, I'm going to start doing inner child healing. He's like, he's like, you know how hard it is for me to get people to do it in the first place? He's like, let alone, me and none of my colleagues have ever. He's like, it's really cool, but he just was like so surprised on it, but he's also done it. So like we could talk about it, right? Because he's like, I have had patients who have been with other therapists and they tell him, oh, you just need to do it. You'll get over it. But it's like, my therapist knows how much that sucks to go back in time to when it all started and figure it out. Doesn't mean that I had a bad life or a childhood. It's just like, my therapist knows, he knows the journey. So we can actually talk about it, and it's not just you just have to do it anyway, kid. You just have to do it anyway, kid. Because you can't really relate. So you need that human touch to relate.
Exactly. And I think you brought up something that was fascinating to me as well, that right after you were considering doing the inner child thing, you saw this childhood picture of yourself, and it felt like God, or whatever you want to call it, like placed that right in front of you.
It's a smack in the face. It's like you can't avoid it now.
And there are moments in my life for sure where I've felt that, like even today I felt some of that, but I think for some people they have trouble, I don't know, I either identifying those moments or placing significance to those because they don't want to, I guess, seem silly or something. They don't want to be like, oh, like, I saw Jesus in my toast this morning. Like, maybe you did, maybe you didn't. But, I think it's like, it's a fine line of, okay, that is a sign from God. And I think that there have been key moments in my life where I'm like, that really is, and it's led me to do things. But yeah, how do you navigate that?
I think you just have to ask. Right? Because it was probably last summer, or 2 summers ago, I was listening to someone, I just felt like I didn't really feel connected much to God's universe, right? And I heard someone like, if you feel like God's not with you or the universe isn't with you, just ask it to show you in a very clear way that not even I can screw up. Like, me. Make it very clear where I can't even mess it up. And like, you could be very specific. Like, don't be like, let my water levitate in the sky. Like, that's ridiculous. But so I asked, and I was like, I sat there and I meditated on it, and I was like, I just feel like, I don't know, I just feel like there's a disconnect. Like, we're not really connected. Just show me that you're there whenever you want. Not even the next day, lunchtime, I'm taking Captain outside, my dog. And, there's like I don't even know, maybe 20 feet of like wilderness between the backyard and the high school next door. And I see like raccoons occasionally, coyotes, ducks, which I haven't seen in a while. And we're outside, and he always notices every animal out there. And I hear like shuffle, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to get chased by a raccoon in this park in this again. And I look up, and there is a deer staring me dead in the eyes, like 15 feet from my face. Never once seen a deer back there. And I'm like, and Captain doesn't even notice. I'm like, how does this dog not notice? Like, you notice every squirrel, every bunny. There is a giant deer 15 feet from us. He's not even... I'm like, this is really weird. It was just staring at me. So I was just like, I don't know what to do. Like, this is weird for me. And we just stared at each other for a while. I was like, okay, that was weird. And then I walk around the shed. I come back. It's even closer now. And I was like, oh, this is what I asked for the other day. Like, this is a very clear sign, because how the deer got there in the first place, I have no idea. We'd have to walk down the damn street, like casually on the sidewalk. And then we just started, and then after a while, it like slowly walked up the hill, and I heard its little hooves like click clack and go through the cement. But I was like, it seems so like, if I lived in the wilderness in New Hampshire, maybe you'd be like, okay, dude, like there's deer everywhere, buddy. You live on a mountain. But I live in Saugus, Massachusetts, right next to Route 1.
It was something so out of place.
Yeah, it made no sense. Like a coyote, sure, seen them. Raccoons, sure, seen them. Big ones. Like, they get fat in the winter, those raccoons. But anyway, it just kind of happens. Like, if you ask, you'll get the answer. Like, sometimes you need to ask, like, hey, I don't know if these certain people are supposed to be in my life anymore. Can you show me? But you have to be okay with them showing you, because they're going to suck when they show you. It ain't going to be nice. Like, if you got some friends or some cousins or whatever it may be, like, hey, let me know who's supposed to stay in my life and who can go with me to this next chapter, who needs to stay. And I'm okay with how you show me. It's not, you'll never get, like, a nice answer of, like, hey, Jesse, you shouldn't be friends with Tommy anymore. Hopefully you don't have a friend Tommy and he watches this. You know? Something's usually going to happen and you'd be like, ooh, damn, that sucks. But, like, that's your clarification of Tommy needs to go.
Do you think people don't ask because either they don't believe or because they're afraid of the answer?
I think both. I think sometimes with, like, believing and faith, like, we want certainty. It's like there is no such thing as certainty with faith. Like, if you want certainty, then, like, become like a biologist or a scientist or something, because you can find your certainty there. But I think a lot of people are scared of the answer. Or I think especially in close relationships, in, like, you know, your intimate relationship with your boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, if we ask for clarity on them, there's a chance you might be a little lonely for a little bit. Right? No one really wants to face the truth. But, like, the truth hurts less than a lifelong lie. Right? So I think you just can't be scared. Sorry for the dog in the background. You can't be scared of the answer that you get. Like, you ask for it, but then you get mad at the universe. Be like, man, why is Tommy being a jerk? Like,
Again, sorry, Tommy.
Yeah, sorry, Tommy. And then the universe is like, you asked me. I gave you the answer on a silver platter, kid. Like, why are you mad at me? You literally, I did what you asked. Like, if you keep doing that, at some point the universe could be like, all right, like, if you're not going to take my advice, then I'm just going to, like, give you a little less.
It reminds me, I think it was Gideon who asked for a sign from God, and it wasn't quite a deer. I think it was something to do with, like a bag. I think he asked God to say, okay, if you want me to do this, then make this bag wet, even though it didn't rain. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. I'll have to fact check on that. But yeah, just the idea of, like, actually, you know, as crazy as it seems in a modern society where everything is so regimented and time bound and everything is so material and realistic, it's like there is a whole other part of reality that you can just kind of open yourself up to, and things happen.
Yeah, I think personally I like giving space to let them show you, letting God, the universe, show you in its own way. Right? Because I think sometimes people would be like, well, if there's still water in this glass by tomorrow, then that's the sign that's going to happen. It's like,
right.
Well,
yeah, no, I'm not implying that, like, that would actually happen.
Know, someone on the internet's going to take that literally. So, you know, like, I think you have to ask it for some sort of, like, random sign. Like, I remember going back to California. When I came back, I mean, I was, like, on cloud nine. I drove up the PCH in a convertible. It was beautiful. I had such a good time. And I'm at Whole Foods. And I felt like this lady was following me the whole time. Like, you know, you go into Whole Foods, it's the grocery section, the produce section, right when you walk in. I'm doing my thing, and I swear, every aisle, this woman's like, right? I'm like, all right. Nothing's in this woman's carriage. This whole story, there is nothing in this woman's carriage besides her purse, just so I get that out of the way. And I'm going up and down every aisle, and all of a sudden I stop, and I can feel someone coming. I'm like, there's no way this lady needs to look at the jerky right now, too. I'm like, there's no way. And then I can feel someone just right behind me. And I'm like, all right, like, this is weird. And then I turn around. And she's like, hi, can I ask you something? And I'm like, all right, like, yeah, sure thing. And she's like, I'm doing this project, and I'm asking people what makes them feel, what gives them purpose in life. And at this point, I'm like, all right, she didn't ask anybody in this Whole Food store. She's just asking me. And I'm like, all right, like, you know, so I answered it. I was like, well, I think, like, helping people gives me purpose, and also, like, being present, because if I'm not present, I would have ignored you today. So part of me being present can help give me purpose because I'm aware of everything and I can talk to everybody. And she goes, okay, thank you. And then she walks away. And I kid you not, I grabbed like 2 things. I could not find her in the food store. It's like she disappeared. And I was like, did I just imagine that whole thing? So like the rest of the day I contemplate, I'm like, did I just talk to myself in like the beef jerky aisle? And everyone walking past me was like, this kid's a lunatic. You know, and I told my buddy Eric, who's a shaman, he goes, you probably were talking to yourself in the whole, but it was very interesting, like the timing of a random stranger following me, asking me, what gives you purpose in life? Like, she was in her 60s. What project was she doing? She wasn't in school.
That's such a direct question from a stranger.
Yeah, and I was like, out of all the people, I'm the person she literally followed up and down every damn aisle. It didn't matter what I was doing. If I was looking at ice cream, she was over there looking in the same case. If I was looking at, I don't know, like anything. It was just very interesting. And to me, I kind of took that as like a, maybe not a sign, but it was kind of like brought it to the forefront of my mind of like, what does give me purpose, right? Purpose will always change. Like, we have a different purpose on this podcast than the purpose you'll have when, you know, after this we go talk to our girlfriends, which is a different purpose when I go hang out with my niece than when I go to work. Like, purposes will change. But I was like, dang, I've thought about that ever since. And that was like 2 years, a year ago. It's just very weird sometimes how life works out.
That makes so much sense. Yeah. Because, yeah, I think to expand on that idea of purpose not having to be only one thing. Because I think people, and yeah, for myself, like, even as you ask that, as that person asking you, I'm like, okay, like, what do I see that for myself? And yeah, I don't know if it's one thing. I think it's like, you know, like the journey that I feel like I've been on is one of trying to fulfill a dream, but then also I realize the sacrifices that are made from that, and one of those sacrifices is how present you can be with other people. And I think that, you know, that's something that I really do try to do as well. But yeah, it's, so for me, I think it's been about finding that balance. But then yeah, it's like, you know, for me, like, if I'm on a movie set, like, my purpose there is to direct that movie.
Yeah.
It's not to take care of my, you know, whoever, cousin or something. But then when I'm at a Christmas party and all my family's there, my purpose is not to direct a movie. It's to be present with the people that are there and understand what's going on in their lives. Yeah, so maybe it's something that, like, is location and time bound and everything. Yeah.
I think it changes. Like, I was listening to Tony Robbins and Jay Shetty talk about this today. It was probably why it's on the forefront of my mind. But it just, yeah, it makes so much sense of just, you're all going to have a different purpose. And your purpose when you're 20 is probably to be different than when you're 30 and then when you're 40 and 50, right? It's like, I'm sure 10 years from now I'll have a much different purpose, right? We're going to have a different one when we have kids and all that stuff. So I think it's not attaching it, because sometimes we get lost in like, oh my God, what's my purpose? Like, maybe figuring out what you're here for is your purpose. Like we talked about earlier, like that journey, I think that's your purpose. Because you have no journey, you have no purpose. Like, what could be a purpose? You have no journey. You have no scars. Like, what is there to, what kind of value do you bring? You know?
Yeah. It's like, if you view it from a supernatural perspective, which, you know, at the end of the day, that's why we have faith, because we don't know what the heck's going on. But if you view it from that perspective, and you're here on Earth for a limited amount of time, probably 70 to 100 years, however long it's going to be, would your purpose be to just, maybe for some people more than others, but like would your purpose really be to just sit on the couch and do nothing all day? And sure, that might be safer, but is that really evolving you as a being? Is that really getting you to a place, you know? But it's, yeah, I think it's just like, that's why that journey, and, you know, even though there's suffering that happens in that journey, it's like, I think that's kind of what we're here for, is to kind of like develop those scars, and those scars have stories.
Yeah, like, you can't have any success without some sort of suffering, right? And I think when you look at all the people that, like, people look up to that make a lot of change, like, they made that change because they suffered. Like Tony Robbins very, very open with, like, he's like, yeah, I help all these people because I've suffered so much. It's not a boo-hoo story. It's because I've gone through all this, I've built all of these companies and the infrastructures that he has, so we can feed 1 billion people. Like, that's nuts. That's a large number of people to feed. So it brings me to my next question. Do you think there can be joy in safety? Because I think you can for a little bit. Like, you'd be like, oh, finally I can breathe. I got some money in the bank. All my friends, everyone's healthy. I got a good relationship. But at some point...
When it's earned.
Yeah, see, like... Because I always thought, like, if I won the Mega Millions, I would be like, boom, it'd be great. I could help all these people. But, like, would I really feel like it would be great because I can help people? And money just magnifies more of who you are, so hopefully it would magnify... Hopefully I would turn out to a better person, but, like, wouldn't it mean more if I had less money than winning the Mega Millions and I made that shit for myself?
Right, because, of course money isn't everything, but I do think that's a good example of not having... If you won the lottery, congratulations.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's...
Kudos.
I'm sure there's another...
There's outliers. I'm sure some of y'all are happy.
There's something else in life that you'll evolve into. But I think, for a lot of people, they think, oh, if I just had this amount of money, it's not going to bring you that happiness because it just robbed you of that adventure, that journey.
Yeah.
And, like, journeys don't need to be only toward money, but I think that is one of them. But yeah, it's... I believe it's hardwired into our biology where you have to do something. Like back in the day, you had to go out and hunt. You had to, like, get something to eat for your family. And then once you did that, like, the reward systems in your brain kick in and you're like, okay, now I can rest. And, like, of course, that's not something a lot of us have to do now. But in other ways, whether it be through the journey through finding the right relationship or finding the right job, it's like you get to rest once you do that thing that you have to do, and then you experience some peace, and then during that time of peace you're obviously grateful for it and you enjoy it for a while, like we were even talking about earlier, but yeah, eventually you're gonna need to go out and hunt for food again. Like
that evolution, I think, is what drives us, and I think there is part of us that, like, we see money as, like, the modern day, like, survival instincts. Like, yeah, if you don't have money, you're not gonna have a place to live and food and all that stuff. So it makes sense why we work so hard to get that money, because money can help. It can buy you an opportunity to do something. It can buy you some classes, some courses. It could buy you, I don't know, a podcast microphone so you're not using a phone. So, like, it can definitely help, but it's a tool. That tool's either gonna magnify you or give people a reason not to like you anymore. So I think I want to wrap it up on one thing. What is something, one sentence, 2 sentences, we'll keep it short. What is something that you left behind in 2025? Because we're now on January 21st or 16th. I don't know. We're somewhere in the middle of January of 2026. So what is something or a couple things that you, and I'll answer it too, that you left in 25?
What did I leave behind in 25? I think I left behind emotional residue for the past, like, few years of my life in 25. I felt like I was really holding on to a lot, and and like I do believe it was completing that, at least that cut of the movie that got me there to where I was like, okay, all the things that I'm trying to get through, of course there's still going to be, some stuff here and there that, like I'm always going to have that part of me, but it feels like that, and I feel like I should get more specific with it. I think it's, I think it's maybe not like depression, but I think it's something where I'm just not feeling like I'm completely fulfilled. And I think it's, for the rest of my life, I'll be seeking that fulfillment. But that ability to, just like with whatever's happened in life, being able to leave behind that kind of like that kind of burden, that like metaphorical like emotional burden, and now I feel like I'm at a reset with this new chapter, and so I think it's like that emotional residue with the completion of the movie, I think is for me.
I like that. I think that's a big burden to drop.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say for me, leaving behind in 25, I would say kind of what we talked about a little bit today is like that self-doubt, that fear of like the unknown, of like, well, what if this happens? Like, then I'll just figure it out, And like, I think that's something that I was really good at in my 20s. I was like, I didn't give a shit. I know I'd figure it out. But I think, in my 30s, maybe it took a little bit too safe. Like, I know I'll figure it out. So 2026, we're going to figure it all out. Just like uploading this podcast to the internet. We'll figure it out, But on that note, everybody, thanks for joining episode 2. Let us know what you left behind in 2025, and we will see you for episode 3. Great work, Jesse.